Good morning. We're excited today to share with you an opportunity that we have as a school. I have the good fortune to have a friend at another independent school who, when she was approached about the possibility of having an artist come to school representing 200 women, and only 5 schools in the United States would be given this opportunity, she asked me if Brooks might be interested. I'm so excited that it's here, especially as we celebrate 40 years of coeducation at Brooks and the strength of community. I look forward to exploring how we can share in the 200 women experience together. We will have it here for the next 6 weeks. This morning, we want to share with you a little bit about the project behind the exhibit today. I want to thank Mrs. Wielden, Anusha, Eb, Sid, Taylor, Mary, and Rebecca for their help in bringing this together. 200 Women is a book and an exhibition that's founded on original interviews and accompanying photographic portraits that will be hanging in the Lehman. This landmark project is the realization of an epic global journey to find 200 women with diverse backgrounds and to ask them what really matters to them.
I really want to be able to tell my kids that I fought for them and that I fought for us. And in a time when it's really easy to be tuned out, to pursue, having a successful life for yourself and for your family, it feels really important to me to be somebody who stood up for the ability for my kids to have a future.
It's too late to tell the damage done. It's too late to find where the source came from. Forgiveness calls, it beckons me to find the courage and let it be. I fix my eyes on redeeming love, and I fix my eyes on redeeming love, and I fix my
Love brings me happiness, of course. Romance, passion, love, sex, all that brings me happiness. Family, dogs, friends.
Can't turn back time, you can't erase the truth, you can't relive the things you want to undo, so fall forward.
Myself. That's the only thing I can, say that I have real power over, If you go out thinking you can change the whole world at large, I think you can get quickly disillusioned because there's just so much all the time.
Brave. I don't always feel brave, but I think there's that saying of Bob Marley's that you never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have.
I guess it would be hope. It would be hope that that is the hope is a boat that I think we can get into when everything is difficult. It's the boat that sustains us.
Two editors and publishers, Jeff Blackwell and Ruth Hobday, were inspired by that belief and their idea to persuade 200 women in different parts of the world, whether they be rich or poor, black or white, educated or uneducated, famous or unknown, to sit or stand in front of a plain sheet of fabric and be photographed and filmed while answering 5 fundamental questions. The artist's goal was not to make a book about just successful and powerful women. Those stories are important. But they wanted diversity, and above all, authenticity. 200 real women with real stories.
They sought to cut away distractions and the visual context of each woman's life and to simply focus on her humanity as they asked, what really matters to you? What brings you happiness? What do you regard as the lowest depth of misery? What would you change if you could? Which single word do you most identify with? These 5 questions not only provide a framework for each contributor to tell their story, but really find out what matters to them and how together we can all actively contribute to a just and equal society.
The artists traveled as a small, tight group. At every stop, they would set up their sheet of fabric in the quietest and lightest space they could find, from a dusty rooftop above the streets of Calcutta to a snow-covered art gallery in northern Sweden to a Palestinian refugee camp in Beirut, to a hotel suite they could barely afford in New York, to a township in Cape Town where they were surrounded by beautiful kids who thought a Polaroid picture was a magic trick, to the earthquake-damaged hills of Nepal, to the leafy suburban streets of Sydney, and many other places. With the backdrop in place and a call for quiet on the set, one of them would begin asking each interviewee about her life, and when they were ready, they would quietly ask our 5 questions, and they would listen. The list of interviewees was a mix of well-known women and others they learned about as they researched and traveled. Many were introduced to them by generous friends, friends of friends, colleagues, and kindred spirits found in various corners of the globe. Among them, artists, activists, entrepreneurs, and even an astronaut, alongside business leaders, a goat herder, a nurse, and a brave Nepalese woman who had spent most of her life living on the streets of Kathmandu selling cigarettes, one at a time to support her family. Their responses simultaneously educated, humbled, and inspired them. Some came from places of deep sorrow, but over and over we encountered uplifting examples of kindness, selflessness, strength, wisdom, inspiration, and the most compelling of all, truth. Writ at large was the value, beauty, and privilege of being able to just listen to these women, to truly see their humanity and recognize their own in doing so.
In the poorest places, they came face to face with the cruel and very real correlation between poverty and inequality. In those places, they shed tears as we listened to the stories of girls trapped into sex trade, married off to strangers at the age of 10 or 11, denied education and basic freedom, and subjected to all sorts of misery at the hands of men and the patriarchal culture that sadly is still very much in business.
Wherever they encountered these stories of us and them, there was almost always pain and division. But they also witnessed that when people truly see each other's humanity, beautiful things become possible. Ultimately, the lesson of creating this exhibit and book has been that there are no ordinary women, and there is no us and them. There's just us, people like us.
We are delighted to have over 40 images of the women represented in this book in our Lehman Gallery. In addition to the stunning images, we will have biographies and QR codes for digital access to the interviews in print and in video. We have 2 iPads set up for visitors to access the videos and digital media about the exhibit and the process of capturing these stories. We are also planning an interactive post-it wall where we will ask you to share the word that you identify with most. Ms. Tabitha and the photography students and studio art students will be working on portraits of the women of Brooks to complement this exhibition. Numerous classes from various departments will be integrating the content of this book and the images with their curriculum. On December 5th, Diane Foley, one of the women featured in this book and exhibit, will join us at Brooks. Diane Foley is a nurse, a wife, a mother, and the founder of the James W. Foley Legacy Foundation. James, known as Jim by his friends and family, was Diane's son and was a conflict journalist who was brutally executed by ISIS in 2014. Jim was able to merge his interest in writing with his compassion for the poor, disadvantaged, suffering amid conflict. After Jim's execution, his family and friends created the foundation to continue Jim's legacy of freedom and justice for those without a voice, be they American hostages, conflict journalists, or disadvantaged children without access to education. Diane will be sharing her story, and she will be speaking with us about moral courage and how her words and story will change the way we see the world. She will be here December 4th to meet with students and faculty interested in supporting and learning about the foundation, and she will be here in chapel on December 5th. The year 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, guaranteeing and protecting women's constitutional right to vote. Brooks is one of 5 independent schools celebrating women with this exhibit. We are fortunate to be hosting this collection during the Women's Centennial, and our hope is that you will all make a point of visiting and engaging with the exhibit, and we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you.